My name is Sarah. I'm with the Midwest Writing Center. And if you are not accustomed to watching Write More Late videos, format tends to be on days in which I'm alone, I'll talk about a writing topic for a while and give a short lesson. And then we'll have a 5-minute free write. And I will give updates on the Midwest Writing Center. I am a little nervous. There's a wasp in my office, so that's why I keep looking off to the side over here. Today I had scheduled that I would talk about the literary collage, which is one of my favorite literary topics. It's I think it's a bit of a toxic idea that we have to commit to one genre at a time, that a novel must be prose or a poem can't include a grocery list, or a grocery list can't be a poem, or that nonfiction can't be in verse. That's a topic I really love because I don't accept the premise that genre is static. I think that genre is dynamic. But today, life dictated what we would talk about today. I woke up this morning in a world of political turbulence, as we all did, as we all do most days. And I felt something I'm fortunate enough to not feel very often, which is helpless. And I reached out to a lot of people for pep talks, and I sort of made a plan of action, which is my go-to. When I'm upset, I plan for action. But I wasn't getting the pep talks I wanted. I tried to give, I would try to talk to myself the way I would talk to someone else. But I tend to be good. I tend to be really calm when other people are struggling. And that doesn't work when it's me. Still looking for that wasp. And the thing that I got to, because I don't really believe that one person is too small to make a difference. Fundamentally, I believe that none of us is helpless. I believe that. It's hard to accept sometimes when the current is against you. But it's a fundamental core belief for me that you can make a difference as an individual. And I think there are a few reasons people come to art, reprieve, catharsis. I have feelings I want to get out, but there's also the other thing. I have a message I want to get out. And the fact is that, we hear all the time ad nauseum, it's a cliche for a reason. No man is an island. And that's true. None of us is alone in this world. And as such, everything we say out loud hits ears. Everything we say publicly falls on ears. And that's true of our art too. So, sorry. So that's what I want to talk about today. It is not a wasp, it's a fly. I can rest easy now. There was a wasp in my office yesterday. So that's what I want to talk about. Your art matters. The things that we put our energy into, whether pointed and political, or whether escapist and fanciful, whatever it is, it matters. And it's doing a service for the world, even if it doesn't meet other eyes. But if you want it to, if you want other eyes to see your work, that matters too. The ideas that we share with each other, the techniques that we share with each other, the ways we unburden ourselves, they matter, and they don't exist in a vacuum, right? When I say no man is an island and that our art doesn't exist in a vacuum, what I mean is everything we interact with touches us and we touch it too. So we create art. It would be really weird if you found this video if you weren't an artist, or at least invested in the arts in some way. But maybe you did. Maybe you don't see yourself as an artist. I would challenge you to challenge that thought. I believe that we are all creators of something, and that's what art is. Anyway, so I've already done one of these on writing for social change, writing as activism. If you want to visit that, you're welcome to. In that video, that's on YouTube, and youtube.com/Midwest Writing Center. The playlist is Write More Light. And in that video, we talk about, songs and novels and poems that have either spoken for a moment of change or urged and motivated change. And we also talk about letters to the editor, and speeches, stuff that's more specific, more pointed, shorter, that exists, specifically to make change. But not all change making art is a letter to the editor or a speech or, oh, it is a wasp. All right. My cat seems to have won, so that's good. And the art that we make, because we need to make it, can elicit change. And part of that is within ourselves. It's the individual. It can unburden us. It can make us feel better. That's what catharsis is. It can do us the service of getting some of the gunk out of our bodies, out of our minds. But it can also work to show others that they are not alone in their thinking. It can work to inspire others to do similar work. It can work as a piece in solidarity with a cause. And it doesn't matter if that's fiction, if that's poetry, if that's a list, a letter. It's really important. And I want to say, these things can work right now for political action or to make people kinder. I don't know if you were around on the internet when Kid President had the pep talk, which I'm definitely going to watch today. But that was, just two people with a camera who wanted to make people feel better. And it did. It went viral. It got picked up by a bigger channel that was doing work to make the world a better place. And, most of us aren't going to go viral. I don't know the statistics on that, but the fact is, if 5 people hear your message and respond or share in whatever way, that matters. So I want to talk about that today. Like I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about. I would like to ask you to do that art. The focus here is on literature, but whatever art comes naturally to you or in this moment feels right, I want you to do it. Maybe it's just a doodle. I don't want to say just a doodle, but a lot of people color, as stress relief or relaxation, and that's cool. I've been trying lately to color. It's not intuitive to me, but embroider or knit sometimes for that purpose. But I would suggest, there's definitely drama in the next room now. I apologize. I would suggest something not, I would suggest creating something from scratch if you feel like you're able to. If you're not, obviously no pressure. I'm not in the business of telling you what to do. So maybe that's a drawing, maybe that's painting, pottery, music. The first step, of course, is to get your feelings felt and out and in the world. I'm checking the feed. None of you are hanging out with me, and that's okay. And the next step is to try and point it a little more. Maybe you don't need a second step. Maybe you already are on the first step. I'm not somebody who's very coherent. When I have feelings blocked up, I need to journal or draw or whatever. The second step is what is the thing that's getting to me? What is the thing that's making me feel hopeless or has been tiring me out for so long and I have nothing left? No spoons. If you're familiar with spoon theory, there's a website, it's called But You Don't Look Sick. I would look that up on your favorite search engine. But when I say I have spoons, I mean there's nothing left, no energy to give to anything. It's time for recovery. If it's time for recovery, do what you need to rest, obviously. But when you're back to the point of I want to do something now, I feel helpless, but I have something to give. Try to put into words, or if words aren't, not everyone thinks in words. If words aren't your thing, just try to pinpoint that feeling, that thing that inspired that feeling. And then respond to that. Either, revise whatever that first thing was that you made, or start again. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be refined. Polished is the word I was going for, right? We talk about rough drafts, first drafts, third drafts, whatever, and final or polished. It doesn't have to be any of those things. But the goal here is for you to not feel helpless, to feel more empowered. So the next step after that, after you've gotten somewhere coherent, is to either share it or reflect on what the next best step is for you. For me, it's probably not sharing it. If I'm honest, if it's just a regular creative work, I keep those close to my chest for a while before I'm comfortable sharing them. But you know what I think I'm probably going to do today, and I haven't done it yet. I have an obligation every morning until 1, so I hop on here without having done art today. I'm going to make a list. List is one of my favorite art forms. Something about having a container to give constraints to what I'm doing is helpful to me. That's not true for everyone. But I'm going to make a list. And that list is going to be the things that upset me. It might be the reason those things upset me. It might be people I know who are directly impacted by the things that are upsetting me. It might be how I am directly impacted by the things that are upsetting me. In fact, it'll probably be all of these things. I'll probably come up with a header at the end that's like topic. And then all the things within that are compiled as a list. It can move forward from there if I want to make it prettier, turn it into an outline. That's a form I've been playing with lately. Can turn it into several lists, can turn it into a recipe. My brain is always going to what's the creative way of doing this? What's the artsy way of doing this? That's not necessary ever, honestly. But it is how my brain does things. I want to I feel, if I feel helpless, which I've already admitted, um, I want to have something tangible to do with it. And there are other things, right? If you can show up for a cause or show up for a friend, physically in person, that's great. Do it. People gather in groups for a couple of reasons. One is for solidarity, and the other is to show physically in numbers how many people are on their team to the powers that be. So do what you can. If you have these resources at the ready, give in whatever way you can, in whatever way feels right. But I'm here to talk about art and creating art, so that's the focus. So that'll probably be what I do when I end this video. Is start, and I love lists. Like, I'm already really excited about that, and I think it's going to make me feel empowered. And the reason for that is, when I can put something down, it gets a little smaller. And that's not necessarily true for everybody, but it's true for me, and it's something that I can do. And once I've done that, once I'm ready to share it, or once I can make the problem seem a little smaller, it'll be easier for me to act. And when you make lists, maybe you're not like this, but my brain works sort of in that outline format. So I've got item, and then I've got sub item, and then I've got sub item. And sometimes that can lead me to action too. I don't have, all the answers for any situation, and I don't know what topics you are passionate about. I'm much better at coming up with action for somebody else. So if you came to me and you had a specific thing, I am much more likely to be able to help you than myself. But this is something that will work for me, and that's what I need. That's what we all need. We all need to feel empowered when we feel helpless. And there's always something. I want to emphasize, that taking care of yourself when you are depleted of resources is doing something. Rest can be and is a radical act, because rest is not something that we are often encouraged to do. And that's something too, when people experience writer's block or writer's block. Sometimes rest is the answer. Getting your mind off of things is the answer to further creation. But if you're able, or I always say blocked up, like I feel like there's something physically holding me back when I say I feel blocked up. And there are answers. There are ways to slow down, to figure out what's next, and to do one small thing that does matter. I want to emphasize that small things do matter. We know, like, from scientific studies, I don't have sources at the ready. I'm clearly sitting here at my desk with nothing in my hands. That having conversations with the people in our lives makes a really big difference, as far as like changing people's minds. I also know that most people think that that's not a significant action, and it is. So there's always that proverb or saying, I don't know, it's a proverb. I don't know who came up with it, but anyone who thinks that one person is too small to make a difference has never been alone with a mosquito. Be the mosquito. Be the mosquito. Let your writing Be the mosquito. It's going to be my new slogan. Be the mosquito. And of course, we don't think nice thoughts about mosquitoes, but they are effective, aren't they? Okay. So let's look at some writing that makes a difference. Nothing is near me. I would like to reference the Lorax, which is near me, but I'll have to stand up to grab it. Which the logging industry tried to ban. That was a challenged book. It shows up on banned book lists all the time. And it could ostensibly, I think that it would be naive to say that it had no purpose. It certainly had a mission. But ostensibly it's a kid's book that is silly. It is, of course, and I really think it would be naive to say that it's not overtly environmental in mission. But that's not a book that we think about very often as far as its dramatic impact on the world. I think Dr. Seuss has a really good record of stuff like that, right? But I think normally we think of things like the Gettysburg Address or the New Colossus. That's the poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty. We think of things like, I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird, or Frederick Douglass's narrative of a slave. But it doesn't have to be that. It can be a kid's book about a hairy little guy with a mustache. It can be the words we choose when we tell funny stories, bedtime stories. I know I got told some bedtime stories that were like oral tradition, folk tales about they were all about scrappy kids solving the problem that adults couldn't. And I'm sure that had an impact on me. I keep saying no one is helpless. They were always about scrappy poor kids. That was an important thing too. Who solved the problem. There was some big problem in the community, and one scrappy kid with nothing solved the problem. And word choice matters a lot. I do some training in my other life on stigmatizing language. So you can, and I teach, how to recognize when someone's language is the intentions behind someone's language. So word choice makes a big difference. You can say the same sentence two different ways and folks will understand your meaning differently based on word choice. I'm just sitting here hoping to alleviate any feelings of helplessness. And I urge you to read too. I only really have literary books here. I usually come prepared if I've got a mission. It's also, I think, particularly important if you're able emotionally, physically, to tell your own story. Someone like you may not know it's possible to get to where you are. If you're able to tell your own story, just your friends, your family, your Twitter followers, that matters too. If we are able to tell our story, that gives other people the opportunity to find out that our life is possible. that they're not alone. That's why, I mean, there are a few reasons that memoirs matter. But Frederick Douglass's autobiography, The Narrative of a Slave Life, hi, Benny, was written to show people what life was like. But I mean, there are celebrity autobiographies, which we read because we want to know about the people that we see all the time. But there are a lot of people who are writing autobiographies as activism. Jonathan Van Ness and Billy Porter have both written autobiographies in which they come out as HIV positive, and that does a lot of work to end stigma about HIV. Jeanette McCurdy wrote an autobiography about both being emotionally abused and also developing an eating disorder. And that helps to end the stigma surrounding eating disorders and, being able to talk about abuse. These are things that when things are left in the shadows, stigma exists. That creates shame in people who experience similar things. I'll say, locally, Elaine Olson wrote an autobiography about grieving the death of her husband. And that helps people have conversations about bereavement, which is hard. It's hard to talk about things that hurt, but it's also hard to talk about things that, the world around us tells us we're not supposed to talk about. Brian Kranz wrote a book about a lot assault and journalism, and that allows us to talk about both of those things, like what journalism looks like and also what assault looks like. This is really all just from my local authors and MWC Press books over here, but we've got former interns and maybe future interns at the Writing Center who have talked about sex and gun violence and coming out and all the things that happen in our lives that impact us. They'll impact someone else. And the more we're able to talk about them, the better off we'll be as a collective whole. I've got a memoir over here on craft, a memoir of craft, in which someone talks about her experience. Her name's Annie Wilcox. Talks about her experience learning how to be a bookmaker, a bookbinder. And that isn't a hot controversial topic, although it is a dying trade. But from that book, I learned the history of literature, of written word, of how words are preserved and why. And it affected me. I look at books differently, and books have always been very important to me. But it also helps you, think about what's worth preserving, or what has historically been worth preserving, with the internet being as accessible as it is. It's not universally accessible, but it's getting there. We can preserve anything. It didn't used to be that way. So that too is relevant. What was worth preserving? What is worth preserving? And why? If we don't have conversations, there will be nothing to preserve. I think I'm getting repetitive. Oh shoot, Missy Irvin wrote a body swap novel that deals with identity in its basest ways. And I say the word body swap, and you think it's going to be funny. And it is. But but it was shockingly impactful, and not because I didn't know that Misty was wildly talented, but because I thought it was going to be like a, Freaky Friday. But it was a very impactful book because of the way identity works internally and in the physical body. If I were in someone else's body, the things that happen as I go through my life in the world physically would be different. Highly recommend all of the people I've just referenced. Misty's book is called My Day as Reagan Forrester. Annie Wilcox's book is called, oh no, what is Annie's book called? That one's not sitting next to me. I'll look that up. It's a master of something. Brian Kranz has several books that talk about really serious topics. A lesson in Brian's books, Free Stack on the Highway, Constant Suicide, and Assault Rifles and Pedophiles. I'll deal with deeply personal topics. A Degree of Mastery, I think, is Annie's book. Yes, A Degree of Mastery by Annie Wilkins. Sorry about that. Let's see, I mentioned Jeanette McCurdy. Her book was called I'm Glad My Mom is Dead. I don't know the names of Billy Porter or Jonathan Van Ness's autobiographies. Jonathan Van Ness's autobiography is called Over the Top. Billy Porter's book is called Unprotected, a memoir. I can't honestly remember. Elaine Olson's memoir is called My Walk with Grief. And this is all to say, just your story alone is enough. So that's my challenge for you, for your free write today, is get it out. Spend 5 minutes, and I'll set a timer for that free write. In a moment, I'll give you updates on what's up at the Writing Center first, but your free write will be write down that which you want to change or that which makes you feel helpless, and go from there. So things coming up at the Midwest Writing Center, we're going to just totally change the mood. It's going to be all good things. This Thursday, I am super, super, super excited. Please sign up for Ida Zalelian. I've got to write more late, featuring her if you want to learn more about her as a person. She's a super talented author and teacher. She'll be teaching us how to start a story, and we'll be using snapshots as our basis and moving forward from there to start stories. On Wednesday, the 8th of March, we will announce winners for the Iron Pen contest. On, I believe, it's either March 11th or March 12th, our collaboration with Nahant Marsh for children's literature, children's nature writing, will be happening at 1 p.m. I will double check on that and put the details in the comments. On the 11th, we will have our a reading for winners and participants in the Iron Pen contest, and the drawing for the free tuition of the Collins Writers Conference will be drawn, and there will be prizes too. That is hybrid, that's in person and online. If you'd like to join us at the Writing Center, that's at the ground floor of the Rock Island Public Library. Yeah, that's then coming up on Write More Light on Thursday. I will have Tate Lewis Carroll, author of the book What's Left. We'll be on. We will talk about his journey writing their journey writing that book, and also haikus. They're a haiku lover and a haiku teacher, and I don't know much about haikus, so we've got definitely enough for 2 episodes with Tate Lewis Carroll. Next Tuesday, Mary David Saver, local author, board member at the Midwest Writing Center, will be on. She writes cozy mysteries, and she's really good on it. And she's also really active in the literary community. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about with Mary about her work. That's all I've got for you. So if you're leaving now, you don't want to do the free write with me, please go write more light into your life. And if you are joining me for the free write, I'm setting that 5-minute timer. Bunny, come here, bun. And we will write. Come here, baby. Come, bun. If you needed a reminder, we're writing what is challenging us or what makes us feel helpless, and then responding to it. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, that was before you just wanted to put this cat job. I'm gonna continue this project because I think it will be good. As always, please write more light into your life.